Hi, good morning. My name is Colleen Katzenberger, and today is my 41st birthday. But I feel like birthdays often do, it's a time of reflection, pause. Let me stop and think about where my life is, what I've done, what I haven't done, things of that sort. And there's something about your 40s particularly that anybody that's there understands or has been there that can seem confusing, right? Like you've had 40 years of experience in life and things that have happened, but man, you still feel like you have so much life left to live. And I had been most definitely in the midst of just an emotional awakening this past month. I have committed to growing out my gray hair. I have been redecorating my house and bought a green velvet couch, which not entirely like me, but maybe it is. I quit my job of 10 years. I had the great privilege of being a high school teacher the past 10 years and quit 2 weeks ago, and have decided to go back to my original career of being a registered nurse and delivering babies. I'm in the midst of merging households with my main, and I have been on a tremendous journey, particularly in my soul this past year, of just who am I? Who did God intend me to be? And anybody that knows me really well knows that for the past 15 years, I've had a feeling like I am supposed to tell my story. And I have found words and speaking and writing very therapeutic over my journey, and I have always found some way to talk myself out of it, out of sharing my story. And during this past month, particularly, it just really I'm going to call it an emotional awakening. I got this idea that I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell my story, and my goal in telling my story is to be as real and authentic as possible. So like right now, I literally rolled out of bed, set up the camera, got some coffee, and here I am. No makeup, didn't do my hair, didn't do anything, because my goal is not to give you this persona of perfection, because I am so far from it. So far from it. And I want this story to be real. I want what I tell you to be as raw and authentic as it can be, which, oh my gosh, is so freaking scary. Like, so scary. I've talked myself out of this a million times in the past week. You will probably hear me cuss, because that's me, authentically. You most definitely are going to see me cry at some point. You will hear me crack terrible jokes and try to lighten the mood with humor, because that's also what I do. But more than anything else, I tell stories. And that's my goal, is just to tell a story of life, a big story of life. Which gets me into the second part of today. Not only is today my birthday, my actual birthday, but today is Memorial Day, which, growing up, having a birthday around this time of the year, I always thought Memorial Day was like the kickoff to summer. And I never understood the gravity of what this holiday is really about. And it is the holiday where we stop and remember our military men and women that paid the ultimate sacrifice, truly, to keep us free. And I know that sacrifice really well. Almost 15 years ago, I had the most devastating news that the love of my life at that time, Jeremy Katzenberger, had paid the ultimate sacrifice, serving with 1st Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment in Afghanistan, and our son was 7 months old. And I will get into that story more over the next couple weeks of the grief and the loss of him. But today, on Memorial Day, I want to start honoring him. Not start, I've always honored him by telling our story, but I want to start my story by talking about Jeremy and I. Because Jeremy was the first pivotal piece of my life where I really got to choose love. And you will hear me talk a ton about my faith, which makes me feel super vulnerable because I am human to a fault and a sinner and so far from perfect, but God's grace is big and his love is even bigger. And yesterday in church, actually, the entire story is about come Holy Spirit. So letting the Holy Spirit fill you. And it just, I feel it today in this courage to tell the story, just tell the entire story. And even the really messy parts, like probably some of the parts that I'm not as proud of, that aren't as pretty, aren't as perfect. Yeah, so that's my goal. That's my goal for this year, for my 41st year, is to tell my story. And, I have other goals, like definitely need to lose 10 pounds and figure out how to be a nurse again. And there's so many pieces over the next year that are terrifying and exciting and part of my awakening. And I'm nervous to share it with everybody, but I'm also kind of excited about it. I feel like I'm supposed to do this and, yeah, I'll figure out how to navigate it. Okay. So the story I want to start with, though, is the very first time I ever met Jeremy. And it continues to blow my mind because, this would have been, 25 years ago. I was 16, 41. 25 years ago. Memorial Day weekend. I had not officially turned 16 yet. I think my birthday was coming up in a few days, but we had lifeguard training. Both Jeremy and I got hired to lifeguard at our local country club. And it's funny because I remember I wore denim overalls, like short overalls with a white tank top. It was super fashionable back then, I promise you. And I'm sitting there at the lifeguard area, the shack is what we called it, waiting for this orientation meeting to start. And around the corner, this guy rounds the corner, and he's got these broad shoulders and blonde hair and these aqua blue eyes and just a smile that like radiates love, like radiates life. And and that was Jeremy. And it always makes me giggle because this beautiful girlfriend rounded the corner right after him. And I had to meet her that summer too. And she was great. But that moment, the first moment I ever met Jeremy, is one I will never forget. And I find it so ironic that it happened to be over Memorial Day weekend. And Jeremy and I wouldn't start dating for a few years. That summer, we both had our first loves, first romances. And grew up a ton, and we got to be friends. And I watched him he's just this great man. The children loved him at the pool. He had like a following of kids that loved to play with him. He would play this game where he'd throw the ball on the roof and it would bounce down and the kids would chase after it. And he would do it for hours. Never getting annoyed, never getting bored. He just would do it. And so, per the area at like 2001, circa 2001, 2000, we stayed connected via AOL Instant Messenger. His name is Cats and Boogie, and mine was Call Me Tasha. Well, I'll tell that story another time. But we stayed in touch, and our first year of college was the first time that I think we both really found ourselves single. And so we'd been talking. He went to a school we were at schools about an hour away from each other. He went to UCM, University of Central Missouri, and I was at William Jewell College, and both Kansas City area where we are both from. And we were talking, and I was talking about how I had just gone through a breakup, and he had just gone through a breakup, and I needed a date for my sorority formal, and he needed a date for an ROTC function, yada, yada. And I was sitting there in my dorm room. I'm typing on my laptop because you have to sit at your computer for AOL Instant Messenger, kids. You can't do it on your cell phone during this era. And I was sitting at the computer and he types to me. He's like, well, I'll go with you to yours if you go with me to mine. And I just typed back, deal. It was absolutely giddy, like absolute giddy. I was so excited. And the first function was my sorority formal. And I went to go pick him up from his parents' house because my college was about 30 minutes away from our home area where we went. We went to sister high school. So our parents were pretty close to each other. So I went to go pick him up since it was my dance. And I just remember, because we hadn't actually seen each other for like a while, right? We had just talked via Insta Messenger and kept in touch and like had people in our circle that crossed over. And so we were aware of what was happening in each other's lives, but not necessarily close by any means. And so I go and pick him up, like super nervous, like who is this guy? Blah, blah, blah. He was in ROTC, so he's going to be in the military. And I had no idea what that meant. So anyways, we went to Buca de Beppo's for dinner on the plaza. I remember that. And I remember at the dinner, we did like, I don't know, like a lemon piccata or something. And there were capers on the chicken. And I had never had capers. I had no idea what capers were. And I was like, what are these? And it's like, and I tried it and it was just like, oh my gosh. It's like, he just giggled and giggled. And this would be the story of our relationship. Jeremy would be with me through so many new trials and just my ultimate cheerleader, right? Like laughing and giggling the entire time. So anyways, we go to dinner and then we go to the dance. And this is when people actually like went to the dance. So I've taught high school the past 10 years and I'm learning that people no longer like go and dance. Like cell phones have kind of ruined that because everybody's worried about videos getting posted of them looking like idiots. And it makes me so sad because I have no rhythm. I can't find a beat 85% of the time. So I just have a lot of fun when I'm out dancing and we had so much fun. And the moment that I remember is Jeremy looking at me in the middle of the dance and like making this face, like, prepare yourself. And he looks at me and just busts out the worm, like falls to the ground and just starts doing the worm on the dance floor. Like, well, because Jeremy was coordinated and did have rhythm and could beat. And he did the worm. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, this man has totally stolen my heart. Totally stolen my heart. Oh my God. And we were just done. We were a done deal at that point. Jeremy and I, we were not that couple that got together and broke up. We got together that night and we said, this is it. We're going to figure this out. Couple of kids, scared about life, scared about where we were going. But deeply committed to each other. Deeply. That next year, our first date was in November. That first year of us together was so fun. Jeremy was amazing. And I think being at separate schools, it was good for us in some ways because we didn't lose ourselves. I think at that age, sometimes when you're in relationships, it's really easy to become like codependent and super intertwined. And being at separate schools, we couldn't do that. But every Wednesday night, I would drive down to his school and stay with him for the evening. My college at the time was a Baptist school, so chapel was on Thursday morning, so there were never classes on Thursday. And the weekends were tricky because I was on the debate team in college that first year, and so I traveled a ton during the week. Just so many parts of the story. Anyways, but we had a ton of fun and fell in love. And gosh, my world was forever altered because of it. And I'm so thankful for it. I'm so thankful for it. Yeah. anyways, that's where I'm going to start. There's this vulnerability of like telling all the stories, but Saturday night I was out with some friends for my birthday and telling them about my job change, which has kind of come as a shock to some and not as much to the other, just because I did really enjoy teaching, but I had a calling to go back to nursing, and I quit nursing when Jeremy died, and I'll talk more about that, I'm sure, over as things unfold. But somebody called me brave during the dinner. They were like, "You are so undeniably brave," or so, I can't remember the descriptive word, but it was just brave. And I don't feel brave. I feel scared. Scared. I want this story of love to inspire others to forego fear in the face of love, because I think that's so easy to do sometimes, to choose fear. I kind of want this monkey on my back off that I have felt to share my story. I'm looking forward to like putting it all out there so I can stop going to church and waking up at night and be like, God's calling you to tell your story. I can stop that voice in my head. And, I always like get a little, I think like most people do, right? I get a little in my head about what's in my head. And it's like, is that really God calling me, or is it just the doubt and the fear? And what does it really sound like? And sometimes just being able to really silence that. I'm learning. I have a phenomenal circle of friends that love me so well. I am incredibly thankful for that. I also have a great therapist, and I am sure you are going to hear me talk about Ashley over the next year, because she's a big part of my story. I started seeing her, 9 years ago now. Off and on. I like to joke that we've gone on breaks during the years, but I'm glad we always get back together. Yeah, I just thank you if you made it this far through my rambling and all the things. Thank you. I am hopeful to get better at this as I get more comfortable, but in mapping out my story and telling all the things. But I think this is the start I needed. And I will hopefully do this as authentically as possible. I'm not out to be an influencer. I don't need followers. I don't know. I just want to tell the story. That's my goal. And so I'm not going to worry about my hair or my makeup or how I look on camera, which is probably a lie. 100% I'm going to worry about it. But I'm going to do my best to just show up and tell a story. So, okay. Yeah, that's kind of it. So, the next couple weeks, I'll continue to unfold the story of Jeremy and I's relationship. God, it's beautiful. And then we're going to take it from there, because I started dating Jeremy when I was 19. I was 26 when he died. I'm 41 today. So I've got a lot to cover. And I'm excited about it. Anyways, pause at 3 p.m. on Memorial Day. Think of somebody, think of some. That's it. Stay classy and choose love. Bye, guys.